Welcome to the Best Business Podcast, the podcast for established marketers, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. The ones who want to join me in my mission to create 200 new multi-millionaires who solve world problems with entrepreneurship. If that's you, then this podcast was created to give you access to the tools, training, strategies, and tactics you need to achieve multiple seven-figure profits as soon as possible. This world needs the best business you can build, so please get ready, open your mind, believe you can do this, and let's build a better world together for future generations. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today I'd like to introduce you to Armand. He's a loving husband to his beautiful wife, Mariana, and out of our 122 mutual friends on Facebook, I've probably heard his name mentioned by about a third of them. Some of you may know him from his big event seminars. These were some of the biggest internet marketing events in history. His events helped to train more people in all areas of internet marketing than any other event in the world. He has seen the gurus come and go. He knows what strategies are working today and have stood the test of time over and over and over. Armand is an internet marketing industry expert who built a multi-million-dollar international business. In 1996, he started with $1.83 in his pocket, no experience, and has grown it into a multi-million-dollar business which has touched more than 100 countries around the world. He is also an international speaker and trainer. He has shared the stage with people such as Donald Trump, Richard Branson, Conrad Levinson, and many, 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 many more. His straight-to-the-point teaching style has the unique ability to literally transform any business in 90 minutes or less, and I am very honored to be able to introduce you to him. Armand, thank you for your time, my friend. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am doing amazing today.
Good. Glad to hear it. Now, my first question for you is a little bit not typical. I've heard that you've been known to work at night in your secret lab dungeon, and I want to know, does that still work for you, or are you sleeping like the rest of us mere mortals?
Yeah, I actually do still work late at night. I actually work typically till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Really? Got it. Yep. And so when do you sleep? Are you like on a 4-hour sleep cycle or 6-hour sleep cycle?
Sleep is optional.
Sleep is optional. Got it.
Yeah. No, actually I sleep. I'll go to bed at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and typically around 5 o'clock or so when the sun starts coming up, I'm kind of like a vampire in that way. and the reason I go to sleep at that time is because I feel guilty because the sun is coming up.
Yeah, I know that. It's like when I was a teenager walking home after partying at night. It was always worse if the sun hit you before you got home.
That's right.
Like melt. Like, no.
So what I do is the sun will come up, and I'll try to be in bed before then because it's harder to sleep when the sun comes up.
Right.
But then I'll go to sleep till depending 11, 12 o'clock, and typically around 10:30 now. Usually. And then I'll take a nap in the afternoon as well, too.
Got it. Yeah, I'm kind of like that. There's this iPhone app called Sleep Cycle, and I love it. It's basically,
really?
I've tracked like almost 600 nights now, and I think my average is like 5 hours and 50 minutes of sleep. But I'm like you. I'll have a really short night's sleep, somewhere like 5-6 hours, and then take a quick 30 to hour and a half nap in the afternoon. So do you find that helps you be more productive? I mean, it must be. You've built a multi-million-dollar business.
I think that my philosophy is really simple. My father laughs at me a lot because my philosophy is very simple, is that you sleep when you're tired and you wake up when you're not.
That's so crazy.
And I mean, because if you think about it, I mean, think about this. The standard workday is built for, people that have, your typical brick and mortar type businesses.
Right.
But, many people involved in online business, we don't need to or have to follow the standards that, normal businesses do, because our business is, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But at the same time, we need to think about, as an individual, when are we the most productive? Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm just absolutely not a morning person in any way, shape, or form. I need that time to kind of wake up, get my brain going, get everything going. Right. And then in the afternoon, very productive. But then in the evening, I'm even more productive because I don't have anyone calling me, yes, contacting me, or bothering me for that matter. So I can really work in a very controlled and a very focused environment at that time. And oddly enough, it's about that last 30 minutes before I go to sleep, way in the wee hours of the morning, that I get my best ideas.
That's awesome.
So it's just kind of strange that way, but it works.
And you just figured it out like via trial and error, or was it a book you read or something? Like, what got you into the vampire lifestyle?
It was, I've been doing it so long I don't even know, but it wasn't anything I read. It just kind of happened that way.
Got it. So I've heard a ton of amazing things about you. We've actually never met, so it really is an honor and a pleasure to be on the call with you, just because I really have. Everyone that I know has talked about you and like you're the man, and now you're still doing your thing, but you're not as much in the forefront as you were. But I hear you, like, you've got new things that you're pushing out, but you've just been like you're like a statue, like you've just been in the industry forever, like. So how did you even get started in this? And
yeah, I mean, it's really kind of interesting because, I just wanted to comment real quick. It's really kind of funny that you say it's like you're not in the forefront of, like kind of like what you were doing. And it's really interesting because it's when I stopped doing seminars. Mm-hmm. It's like people think, well, he's kind of doing his own thing. And oddly enough, we're doing bigger events than we ever had before.
Right.
And I'll explain that in a little bit as we go on.
Sure.
But my story started really about, almost 20 years ago now. What happened was my first company I started in like 1995, and I started a long distance company. Literally, I was competing with AT&T, MCI, and Sprint.
Wow.
And just like you said, I started with $1.83 in my pocket. Had no business even trying to start this type of company, and had no idea what I was doing at all in any way, shape, or form. But the first 7 days, we brought in $100,000 worth of business.
Nice.
The second week, we brought another $100,000 worth of business. Over the course of the first 10 months that I had that company, actually, I only had that company for 10 months, but we did $1.8 million in sales and volume, and I ended up selling that particular business to a company called EqualNet.
Okay.
And they bought us in exchange for stock in their company. And I thought, I'm going to make a fortune. I'm going to make a killing because I know that they bought us and we got this stock. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Because what happened was that stock today is worth exactly 1 cent.
Wow.
So that's not, if someone offers to buy your company in exchange for stock, don't do it.
Yeah, take cash.
But at that point, we're talking about 1996 now.
Right.
And the internet, in the way that people are using it today, has been around for about 1 year.
Right.
But everyone was saying the internet's the future. Bill Gates was quoted in many different articles and magazines saying, if your business is not on the internet, your business is going to be out of business. Mm-hmm. And so I had no idea what the internet was, so I did what everyone else would. I went and got, I had one of these discs from AOL at the time. And shoved them in my computer, and I got on, and then someone told me, well, that's not really the internet. You need to go this, and you need to go through. And at that point, AOL was really kind of cool back then. In hindsight, looking back at it, because it created its own environment, and you actually weren't on the internet, which was really kind of neat and kind of cool looking back at it. But so someone finally told me what you need to do is you need to click on the little E on your computer, and that's going to take you to the internet. And then I said, well, what are you supposed to do? And they said, well, you search for stuff. I'm like, this is stupid. No one is ever going to do this.
Right, yeah. This is going to be gone in a month.
Yeah. It's like, this is a fad. It's not going to happen. So anyway, so that first day I started searching all kinds of different things. And again, I just had a long distance company, so I was searching for my competitors and different companies that I knew. And I discovered that some of these people were actually selling things online. And I'm like, wow, I said, that's awesome. I said, you can just put up a website and you could sell stuff. I was like, this is great. This is fantastic. But what happened is on that AOL website, I found this one little tiny website deep in it. And it said this, pay me $25 and I will put a link to your website on my website. And because I'm advertising my website so much, people will see my website and then they'll click on your link to go to your website. So this person was basically selling ads on their website. That's all they were doing.
Right.
So I thought, that sounds so simplistic, but I bet you that would work. Now, again, remember, I have been online for a grand total of 2 hours at this point.
Right.
Okay.
You're an expert.
So I'm thinking, oh man, I could probably do that. Right? Now, again, 2 hours into this. Now, again, we're talking 1996. And so AOL had this program that I found within that time frame, and it was called AOL Press. And it promised me if I followed its directions, I would have a website up in a couple more hours. So I followed the directions. And here's what my website said. My website said, if you give me $25, I will put a link on my website because I'm going to advertise it and you'll get traffic to your website. So I basically did the exact same thing the guy did, because the one thing I kept, well, actually two things I kept from my company that I had was I kept my computer, because I had this big bad computer that was like way ahead of its time. And I kept this little software program that we had that allowed us to take checks over the internet without having a person sign it.
Ooh, that's powerful. Especially that time, especially that year. Like, that's pre-PayPal, that's pre-all that stuff. That's
there was
huge.
nothing. There was nothing at that point.
Who made that software? I'm just curious.
I have no idea. I can't even remember now.
Okay.
But it was this. It's actually, it was legal. I don't know if it still is, but it was legal then to do that. And the person had to give you their bank routing information, their bank account information, and it would automatically fill in these details. So that's how I took money. So again, my website address. Here's the funny part: I had everything wrong on it. My website address wasn't even an actual website. It was actually a website, a member's website on AOL.com. So my website was something like AOL.com/members/some funky name /another name /another name.
Like the old Age on Fire ones.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. It was just very, very similar to that. And so there's, deep into, who knows how many folders deep. And when you got there, it wasn't on a secure server or anything like that. It was just a plain old server, and people would give me their bank account and their check routing information and everything.
Right.
And but that first week, though, here's what happened. I did advertise it, and I found there's classified sites on AOL at the time. I advertised it there, and any place I could find advertised, I would buy these little tiny ads. And sure enough, within that first week, I made $8,000 that first week.
Whoa, that's a wake-up call.
Yeah, in checks. I had to actually hire someone to come in and type up. So I would work till about 5 o'clock, during the day. And then I would have to relinquish my computer to a girl that I had come in to type in all the checks.
Wow.
Because we had
That's
to do
a champagne problem for sure.
Yeah. So it's like, oh man, how do I do this? And it's like, so I'll hire a girl that used to work for me when I had the telecom company, and so she came in, type up the checks, and then I'd go to the bank the next day with these big stack of checks with no signatures.
Right.
But eventually, what happened was automation kind of took over. I knew that wasn't going to be a long business. I knew that I needed more automation to it. In order to make it work. So I just kept looking, but now I had a couple bucks in my pocket. I'm looking around to see what's going to happen next. And all of a sudden I had this idea one day. And the idea was so simple. I collected everything on the internet. My bookmarks, even today, my bookmarks are probably like my most valuable item. But I collected everything in the form of bookmarks. If something was free or something I thought was cool, I would save it, and I organized these. And I had this idea one day. I said, if I think that these bookmarks are cool, I bet you other people would think that they're cool too. And so what I did, and again, you're talking like 1997 roughly, around this time frame.
Okay.
So 1997, I go out and I create a membership site. And inside my membership site is my bookmarks.
Right.
That's all it was. Nothing more than just my bookmarks. And I said, okay, I'm going to charge people $110 a year in order to access these bookmarks. So my sales letter was just the most simplistic thing. It said problem, that's the top part, and it had 2 paragraphs. And then it said solution. Then it had another 2 paragraphs. And then it had a button for people to buy. That was it. and so they'd buy it for $110. And so I advertised it, again, some same places, because I knew I need to advertise to get people. And all of a sudden, the first day, I had 10 people buy this. I'm like, this is awesome. So again, I made about $1,000 or so. I'm like, this is great. So all of a sudden, I started advertising a little bit more. So next couple of days, I had, actually over the course of the next week or so, I had about 1,000 people buy this.
Wow.
So now I'm brought in like $100,000, right? So then everything started going crazy, because this was way back before anyone ever heard of affiliate programs or anything like that.
This is even before the bubble.
Yeah, I knew that if I couldn't do this myself, I needed to leverage other people. So I had an affiliate program software.
Really? Wow.
And so I put this together, and all of a sudden, everyone that bought started referring other people, and it just went crazy. We were getting up to 2 and 3 million visitors per day.
Whoa.
In fact, I started now again. Remember, I barely know anything about the internet. I knew at this point I could register a domain name. I knew I had a merchant account. I figured out how to get a membership password protected area, but I'm still flying by the seat of my pants. And my hosting company's calling me saying we're crashing this server, we're crashing that server. I had like 5 servers they had to chain together in order to take all this traffic that we were generating. And all of a sudden, over the course of 12 weeks, what happened is I brought in, we sold about 35,000 plus memberships.
Wow.
Okay, so brought in $4.2 million. Now think of, I just want you to think about that though. 12 weeks, 1997, $4.2 million. Even by today's standard in internet marketing, that's way up there.
Huge.
It's still huge. Now, but again, no one had ever seen anything like this before. Everyone didn't even know what the internet was for the most part back then.
Right. Your accountant must have thought you were like cooking the books or something because your margins are just phenomenal.
Well, what happened, the reason why I said within 12 weeks was because in the 12th week, I received a phone call from my merchant account company, and they said, Mr. Morin, we noticed you've been processing a lot of orders, and I proudly said, well, yes, I have. And they said, well, we are going to have to cancel your merchant account. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And now you got to remember, I had called in ahead of time when this first really started going big.
Okay.
And I wanted to find out what my volume was, my volume limit, because what most people don't know is that when you have a merchant account, there is a volume limitation. And most people don't know it. Typically, it's around $5,000 to $10,000, and if you have a little bit better, you can go up to about $50,000 or so in most cases, and then you need approval. Now, again, back at that time, I called up ahead, and they said, "Well, we don't see that you have any limitations." So I'm like, "Okay, well, it's unlimited, right?"
Right.
So, but I made the mistake, and I didn't get anything in writing.
Got it.
So they called me up. They tell me all this. They said, we're going to cancel your merchant account. And here's the kicker. And we went into your bank account and took half the money.
Oh, yes.
So now they took half. Remember, I had an affiliate program, right?
You have to pay these people out.
So I paid the other half out, and they took my other half, the merchant account people. So now I just did $4.2 million, and I have like almost nothing.
Right.
So I'm like, this is crazy. I had a business. I had this process of going on, and if I calculated this out just to see what it would be, I guess to make myself wallow in my pity for myself. But if we would have kept on going, we would have done $155 million that year.
Oh, gosh.
So now think about this. So I am stuck now going, what is going on?
Yeah.
Life is horrible.
You're having some deep conversation with God to be like, look, man, when I get up there.
Yeah, it's like, please. And so, but at that time, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Really?
And here's the reason why. Now, granted that selling the bookmarks and everything, I did a lot of right things, but I would probably say that a lot of it was luck and being in the right place at the right time and stupid enough to actually take action on these ideas, right? In some way. So, but here's what happened though, is everything changed from that point on, because now I realized I had a problem. I knew the internet worked. I knew 100% it worked. I knew I could sell things on the internet, but the problem was I could not get a merchant account, because once they cancel your merchant account,
blacklisted,
you are now blackballed. No other merchant account company will take you.
Right.
So now I'm on a quest. The question is, and this is the question in my head, how can I process orders online without my own merchant account? And so I discovered what's called third-party merchant accounts.
Okay.
And third-party merchant accounts today, we have things like PayPal, ClickBank, and a wide variety of other resources that you can use, Braintree and all these other places.
Right.
That are not really merchant accounts, but they act in the same way. And back then, there was other companies like this, and I discovered that there's about 70 different companies like this. And they would charge you a little bit more, whatever the merchant account fees, plus maybe another 5, 6, 7, even up to 10 or 20% more. on top of that. So I said, okay, well, I can use one of these companies, and now I'm back in business already.
Right.
In fact, one of them happened to be a company, I don't even remember the name now, but the company I actually ultimately went with was a company out of Canada.
Got it. Hey, Canada.
And so what happened is I got hooked up with this company, but now I realized that as I was looking for these solutions, that there was a ton of other people looking for the exact same solution. That they weren't in my situation necessarily, but they knew they didn't need a merchant account. And so I put together my very first internet marketing product, if you will, called Take Online Payments. And I sold it for $19.97.
Got it.
And I sold that product for about 10 years.
Wow.
And from day one, what I did was I put this product out there. I wrote the sales letter, just kind of modifying and looking at other sales letters that existed. And there weren't a lot of examples to go by. But I never changed a sales letter in 10 years.
Yeah,
Because
wow.
it worked so well. Now, at $19.97, we sold about $30,000 each and every year for those 10 years.
Right.
So it was just a great, a simple product that fulfilled a need.
Yep.
And that was it.
Generated a list.
But
Buyer's list.
But that time, here's the other piece, though, is that in order to make an ebook at that time, ebooks are different than they are today. Amazon changed the whole game. PDFs weren't really a thing back then. So your ebook was actually an HTML file that was put into a software, an EXE file. So it was a bunch of HTML files wrapped inside of an EXE file, like a software piece.
Right.
And so I said, well, in order to create this ebook, I need an ebook software. And so I bought all the different ebook software, and none of them did what I wanted them to do. And I had that epiphany that most people have in many times in their life, is that, if someone would only make something that had all the good things without all the bad things, they'd make $1 million.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, why can't I? So I had a couple bucks in my pocket. I found this company out of Yugoslavia. Again, remember, this is before outsourcing. This is before anyone knew about the Philippines or India and anything else.
Right.
So I found this company out of Yugoslavia that actually created ebook software. It is the most money I ever paid for a piece of software to have developed. It cost me $5,000 at the time.
Wow.
And it was like, but you have to remember, it's also like almost my last $5,000.
And what year was this again? This is like 98,
This
99?
is like 98, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah, around 98, 99, somewhere in that.
So it's still not, it's not a, $5,000 is nothing to shake a stick at. Like, that's still.
Yeah. Especially back then, it was even more money than you'd ever think about.
Well,
right?
and I imagine too, when you make so much money and lose it, like you start trying to claw at the money that's left, right? Like,
it's like,
but
at that time, it's like, okay, I'm sitting here, I'm going to put out this, create this ebook software. So they made it for me, and it did all the things I wanted to. I created my Take Online Payments ebook with it. I had the software now, and I'm like, this software is awesome. Other people would absolutely love this. So here's what I did: is somehow, somewhere, I found a list online of 500 e-zine publishers.
Oh.
And I manually sent an email to all 500 saying, hi, you don't know me, but my name is Armand Morin, and I wrote this ebook called Take Online Payments, and I just created this brand new software called Ebook Generator. And, here's a free copy of it. If you like it, here's a link to join my affiliate program, and I'd appreciate it if you'd send an email to your list about it. Now, again, I sent out 500 invitations, basically. I didn't know any of these people at all, but I did it. It took me, a couple days to get through all of them and send them all an email, and it was really just copy and paste.
Right.
But
because it worked back then.
Out of those 500 people, though, I had 175 people or so sign up to be an affiliate, and that first week we did about I think it's about $4,000 to $5,000 in sales.
Awesome.
And again, that product was selling at $49.95, 97 cents, and so we just kept on going. And then people started asking me questions like, well, how'd you make that header graphic on your website? So I said, man, if someone could only create a software that did that, or, hey, how'd you make that pop up on your website? And I was like, okay, maybe we should do that. So I created this whole series of generator products from that point on. Now, that ebook software did go on to make $1 million. In fact, it went on to sell over a couple $1 million worth of, and we just took it off the market like 3 years ago.
Okay, congratulations. That's still a good. That was your $5,000 investment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good ROI. I do that all day long.
Not shabby. But now I found out, that I could outsource and that I could create software. And so I created this whole series of software like ebook generator, header generator, pop-up generator, e-cover graphic generator, all kinds of these. I had I think 20 or 30 different pieces of generator software products at one time.
That's awesome.
And but along the way, what would happen is people would ask me they'd tell me their problem. My customer service was my source of inspiration, really. Is that they would ask me, how did you do that on your website? Or how did you do this on your website? And what I would do is I'd say, man, some of these ideas were really, really good. And I was like, if someone could create that, maybe we could create that.
Right.
And we could sell that product and we could get it out there. And that's how it all started. And then eventually, I started, speaking at events and seminars, and I wanted to talk about something that no one else was talking about. And so I talked about the outsourcing, how I outsourced all these things.
That's awesome. Armand, you've already given so much value. Really, I just want to stop for a second to recap all the key things that you did that, along your way that you didn't, whether you did or didn't know it was helping you be successful. But for the listeners, I really want to flesh all this out. So first of all, you mentioned multiple times that you were advertising your business and that you knew that you needed to advertise your business in order to get the word out and to get people to get people to your site to buy. So that's huge because so many people are afraid to spend any money on advertising. But for you, if you hadn't been willing to spend that money, spend those dollars, you wouldn't have gone anywhere. So that was a key thing. And then the other part that you mentioned was about the merchant accounts and having a backup and multiple ways to collect money. And that sometimes just having a product to sell and customers isn't your only problem, right? That's a huge, huge, huge thing. And I'm glad you shared that with the merchant accounts because I've heard so many nightmares of people they make all this money and then the merchant account freezes the money and they've got to deliver all this product. And they're just stuck in the middle. And so that's a huge, anyone who's here and listening, if you only have one merchant account, you need to get backups. You need a backup for your backup for your backup, if possible, because just the worst thing to do is do a launch and make, a huge whack load of money and then have what happened to you where they just took it like thieves. They're like, hey, we just went in your bank account, took half because. Yeah.
And the funny part is that what you don't know is that when you sign that merchant account agreement, that you're basically authorizing them to do that.
Yeah, go in fine print. And you can't really, you almost have no choice. Who else are you going to go to, right?
Yeah, you had no choice. I contacted some of the best, lawyers in the country, and they said, that's the way it is. Have a good day.
Yeah, so key lesson here. The next part was your sales letter. It was simple, but man, it worked. You identified a problem at the top, and then you talked about the solution after, and then you made an offer. Go figure. Put that CTA on there. That's about as basic as you can get, right? I love that you talked about how you used affiliates and how you got your Rabbit fans. You got people who loved your product to go and help sell for you. And I loved how you talked about your product creation, how that you kind of created products on the fly and because you had your ears open listening to your customers as you went, and the outsourcing part, that you weren't afraid to hire people in other countries and across those cultural boundaries. You've been a pioneer, and you've definitely got the arrows in your back to show it. But I just want to go over all those steps because I feel like already right now in the first 30 minutes, that's almost like a formula for an online business right there. Advertise your business, get a merchant account, have backups, have a sales letter that identifies a problem, gives people the solution, let your customers and people who want to sell your stuff, and create products based on real needs that either you have or your customers are telling you about, and outsource to build the team around you because you can't do it on your own. I don't even know if you realize that, but that was just your story right there. That's so powerful. No wonder you've been as successful as you've been, even though you had to figure it out. I think just looking from here, looking back, it must have been quite the journey for you.
Yeah, looking back, you can see all the good things that you did, and you can also see
bad things
all the bad things as well too.
Right.
Which comes with part of the territory. I think that probably the key that has helped me the most is that I was never afraid of actually failing. And when you I know that sounds cliche almost, but it's like in some cases, especially when I first started my first company, I had no choice. I was broke. If I failed, oh well, I lost $1.83.
Right. Yeah. Darn, you can panhandle for an afternoon.
But I think that's the thing is that so many times we like, oh well, what'll happen if it doesn't work? Nothing really. You're pretty much going to be in the exact same position you are now.
Yeah.
So, so what's the big deal? I mean, except, and I've made a lot of mistakes over the years that are, much, much, much bigger mistakes that, didn't not only cost me time. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'm worried about nowadays is failing in the matter of time. Money can always be made back, but time you can never get back.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And it's spoken like a true veteran. Yeah. So you've helped so many people get their businesses up and running. And you've helped literally through your seminars, you've gotten all this feedback, you've created custom products for people. Do you find that there's particular sticking points that people get hung up on, like in the development and growth of their businesses? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, one of the aspects I think that a lot of people get stuck on is the planning aspect. They constantly try to put everything down on paper that could possibly ever happen. They try to flesh out their idea to the nth degree, and they get so much involved in that planning that they never actually get to create the product. Like I have a student right now that is very much in that realm. And the person's getting better. But they were very much stuck in that realm where they want to list everything else, all the possibilities, everything that could possibly ever happen. And finally I just said, forget it. Just do it. Just put this thing together. You'll figure it out along the way. And if you're making a huge mistake, I'll tell you.
Right.
But that's the problem that many people have is that they try to analyze so much about what they're doing. They don't actually get around to actually creating or developing that product. So as an example, let me give you an example. A lot of people will spend 2, 3, 4 months in product development. Why?
Right.
I can understand on a software product where you have to develop it and you may have other people involved with it. But I know this. I've developed software a whole lot faster. For example, the fastest I've ever developed a piece of software from idea to fruition of the product where it was actually sellable was in 60 minutes.
Wow.
Literally came up with the idea, put a bid on to get it outsourced, had a person bid on it, get it done, and actually send me the finalized version of it within 60 minutes.
That is awesome.
So, think about that. There's times where we've woken up, especially now with information products that many people are doing, what we'll do is instead of waiting time and time again to do it, what I'll do is I'll do it live. I'll just literally go and set up a webinar and invite people or charge people to watch me create this product live.
Right. And
so now I have to create it instead of waiting. If I set a date and I know there's people going to be there, I actually have to do it.
Right.
And nowadays, even our bigger products that are, many of our products nowadays are like 18 hours long.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll literally stream myself the whole course of a whole weekend. So I'll do literally 4 sessions on Friday, 4 sessions on Saturday, 4 sessions on Sunday. And that's the whole product right there.
Wow. Okay. So you're hitting some really key points here. So you sell it to make sure that there's a market and people that are willing to put their credit card info down, and
Correct.
Then you make them part of the process and you build it for them. Which is excellent because there's so many people that I know when they launch products, it's never perfect once it gets out the door. Now, for some of the people that are listening to this and they're afraid of the negative feedback and they're afraid of looking, shoddy and, their grandma won't be proud of what they put out there. Do you have any tips for people that are because bad things can happen if you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. What you do is you tell everyone ahead of time what's happening.
Right.
It's funny. I know people are afraid to fail publicly, especially.
Right.
And we all are. There's no doubt. We always want to look good. But things will happen. So what I do is at the beginning of my sessions, and I'll tell everyone right up front. I said, here's what's happening. I'm doing this product live for all of you guys, but I'm also doing this for the recording. So what you're going to do is you're going to hear me say officially start. And I'm going to start off by saying, we're going to have a moment of silence. And then I'll start off when I'll say, hi, my name's Armand and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, I'll say, and thank you very much. And I'll see you in the next session. And then hang around after. Don't go anywhere because then what we're going to talk. Now, throughout the time that we spend together, because of technology, there might be some things that happen. So here's what could happen. The video that you're watching right now that's streaming live, it could freeze up on you. You might want to refresh your browser. If the screen goes black, then maybe we're having a problem. So give us a moment momentarily. So if you want to check my Twitter account or my Facebook page, if something happens, I will make sure that my team puts something up there to let you know what is happening. But typically, we should be okay. And so, again, if we make mistakes, you'll also hear me stop, and you'll see me say stop, and then we'll go back 10 seconds, and I'll restate something. And so what I'm doing really at this point is I'm being absolutely brutally honest with these people. Mm-hmm. And if they know what is going on ahead of time, they're like, oh, well, he already told us about that.
Right.
And I've never ever had a person complain.
Yeah. Well, because they wouldn't buy. If you tell them up front. Now, do you mention this in the sales letter and that?
Many times we'll tell them in the sales letter, this is what's happening. We're going to record this live. Yeah, there might be a couple hiccups along the way, but the advantage is that you're going to get this information first before everybody else.
And I guess you come back and you improve the sales letter so it doesn't necessarily hurt your conversions in the future.
Yeah, you can change the sales letter later on.
Right.
Well, you're doing that first. It's like that first bump. It's like what you're doing. What most people will do is they'll spend maybe weeks or months trying to create a product. And when they create the product, there's no feedback. There's no feedback, first of all. That's one thing. Number two is when they create that product, they are not getting paid to do it. Mm-hmm. They're footing the bill out of their own pocket. So what we're doing is we're getting paid to create the product.
Right. Yeah, if you're good at something, get paid to do it.
Yeah, and if once you get over that little bit of fear up front, then it's not a big deal at all.
Got it. So this has been value packed. You've said you could change your business in 90 minutes. I think by the end of the 60 minutes, whoever's listening to this, if they're not inspired and haven't found what they need to do or focus on or, to move to the next step, I would be grossly surprised. Now, what about the sales part? Because people are afraid of selling. Because we've already talked about the quintessential components to an online business, talked about creating the product on the fly, how to do it with integrity and not get, a bunch of negative feedback and make it okay if you do fail or if you mess up or whatever happens. And also kind of put accountability on yourself so you actually get it done. What about the sales part? Like when people are afraid of selling and asking for money, do you have any advice for those people? Because I know that that's something that a lot of people get hung up on. They're afraid. They'll do a great webinar, give amazing content, and then when it goes to the pitch, they just start it's like they hit puberty again. Their voice squeaks and they get nervous.
Yeah, what happens is, and that's very typical for most people, is they'll have certain what I call tells that shows people that they're nervous. And it's kind of a strange analogy, but I'll give it to you anyway. And that is, when you're selling, especially talking to people, trying to get them to buy something, the audience, it's kind of like a dog. If you're scared of the dog, the dog will smell it and then bite you anyway. Right. It's kind of like the same thing with people when you're in that sales, trying to go into that sales mode. But it's very natural. If you keep it very natural and make it simple. First of all, you have to realize that if people are spending time with you, I don't care if it's 5 minutes or I don't care if it's on a webinar, maybe it's an hour and a half, they know that you're going to sell them something or attempt to sell them something. So first of all, if you think that you're going to try to hide it, it's not going to work.
Right.
So they know that you're going to try to sell them something. Second thing is, if you think that your product is good to begin with, then you shouldn't be afraid of making an offer to someone for them to purchase it. I think what people think is that there's a magical, there's like this magical way to sell people. Mm-hmm. And, there's some words. I mean, I've taught, a lot of classes on persuasion, things of that nature. And there's some things that you can say. But in the reality is just to explain to people what you have. So, if I was to take a piece of software and sell it, I'd ask them a primary question up front. Let me ask you a question. How would you like to be able to do this? Which would be the primary purpose of my software. Mm-hmm. Okay. And when I say primary purpose of my software as an example, or product, I should say, you want to think of primal. And what I mean by primal, meaning down to the most basic item. People typically will try to sell their product or service based upon one individual aspect of it. Okay. But in the end, you need to find out what is the real root primal aspect of what it is that you have. What does it actually do for people? And the reason I use the word primal is because you need to get to the heart of the matter so people understand it within seconds.
Right.
And so, if I had a product that taught you how to drive traffic to your website, let me ask you a question. If I could show you how to drive an unlimited amount of traffic to your website quickly and easily, would you want to know about it? Yes or no?
Right. Yes, of course.
Yes, I would. Or if I could show you a way to drive 100,000 visitors to your website in the next 30 days, would you want to know about it? Right. Yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so at that particular point, they've already said that they're interested. Now the question is, okay, what can we do? If I just said I can drive 100,000 visitors to your website, then I need to prove to you that I can drive 100,000 visitors to my website.
Right.
So the first thing I need to hit them with is absolute undeniable proof.
Right.
And so at this particular point, I just told you, you said you would like to know how to drive 100,000 visitors to your website. So you must believe at least that I know how to do that. So if I can prove to you now, all of a sudden your level of belief just went through the roof.
Right.
So now I proved to you, here's my stats, here's what I just did, and here's the time frame that I did it in. And, and the great part is I can show you how do you do the exact same thing. So now I showed them the proof, right?
Right.
So I asked them a question. Think about this. I asked them a question up front. How would you like to be able to do this, whatever this may be? Then I showed them proof that I did it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then what I do is I explain to them, I go right into the actual product. Okay. So again, proof. Here's what I did. Here's how I did it. And the good news is that I'm now can show you exactly how to do it. And it's called, boom, here's my product. So I introduced the name of the product, and here's what we're going to show you how to do. And then we break it down. Step 1, we're going to show you how to do this. Step 2, we're going to show you how to do this. Step 3, we're going to show you how to do this, and everything else. So all we're doing is we're just really laying out what the product actually does. And then you go into a scenario, which would be something like this. If I had to coach with a private client and teach them how to do this, I would charge them literally tens of thousands of dollars on how to do this. But the good news is I'm not going to charge you that much. And what we're going to do is we're going to do something amazing that we very rarely do. We're going to discount this in a way that's going to make it easy for you to get your hands on this today. Okay, so now think of the words I just used and how I use them. Now, again, that was just all off the top of my head. I didn't really think about this too much.
Right.
So I gave them a scenario. I compared apples to oranges.
Right.
Okay, because I didn't say if I put this into a course. I said if I worked with a private client. And it's true. If you spend a day with me, it's going to cost you at least $10,000 and up, right? So it's absolutely true. You're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars with me if I taught a private client.
Right.
But again, we know this is not a private client. So now they have this big number in their head already. So then, but the good news is I'm not going to charge you that because of blah, 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 whatever it may be. So now they're expecting, okay, well, what's the distance? Meaning the distance is what's the expectation in their head versus what it actually is. So what we're doing is we're building a level of contrast.
Okay, yeah, so perfect. So we're building a level of contrast. And you mean when you're talking about if I did this for a private client, if you liked what I've just talked about and you would like me to show you, if I were to show you one-on-one, it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do it really cool. This is the apples to oranges. I've got this course, and you're
right.
Right. Okay, so keep going.
And so all of a sudden they have this big price point in their head. So now all of a sudden we go into, and here's what you're going to get, boom, 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 boom. And you're going to get everything today, instead of tens of thousands of dollars, you're going to get only for this.
Right.
$97.
Right.
So now, again, what we're doing is we're creating that, the bigger the contrast of what the number that they thought in their head to versus what the actual real number that you're actually charging them for, the easier it is for them to buy.
Right, because the greed factor kicks in. The savings, they're saving so much money, and you're still speaking with integrity because it is the truth, right?
Correct. Right. You never want to lie. You never lie in a sales letter. Period. Because if you get caught ever, first of all, no one will ever trust you again.
Yeah, your career's reputation. Reputation is everything. You need to guard it.
Exactly. So what happens is you build that contrast in their minds, and then you release the price. Now you don't have to. Now the funny part is that I never actually gave a real hard number on the upper end number.
Right.
I just let them kind of allude to what it could possibly be.
Right.
But I never give them anything solid. And then when I release the bottom price, it's $97, whatever the price may be, and then I just tell them what to do next. After I reveal the price to them, it's only $97, right? So there it is. It's out on the table now. And here's what you need to do next. Okay. Click on the button on this page that says, and then click here to buy now. And then, click that here button, pull out your credit card, place your order right now, immediately today. And in the next 5 minutes, you'll be able to instantly start utilizing this particular product and showing you how you can get blah, blah, blah visitors to your website.
Got it. That's so simple.
It is. But that's the thing, is that it's a matter, when you're talking to people, if you had to explain to a good friend, this is how you should talk. Is if you had a friend of yours sitting across the table from you and you had to explain to them what you had and trying to get them interested in what you have, how would you speak to them?
Right. You'd speak to them colloquially, like you'd use common phrases and slang and very personal language.
Exactly. But what most people do is they'll try to put on their radio voice and they'll try to be ultra professional, which they'll never, ever use that type of language. But, it's just like, hi, my name is Armand Morin. And today I would like to, if you just talk to people, have a normal conversation with people, that it brings them at ease, first of all. If you're just having a casual conversation with them, hi, my name's Armand Morin. I just want to share with you something amazing that I just recently found out. Okay, boom. And then you're just talking to them, having this normal conversation. And then when you go into that close where you're actually asking them for the money, it's not a big switch.
Right. Because you're just talking. Yeah, exactly. You just telling your friend.
Well, here's what it is. I mean, and here's the fact. It's a matter of fact. Normally, I would charge tens of thousands of dollars like this with a private client, but we're not dealing with private clients today. What we're doing is we're doing something amazing. We put this into a product format that you can easily access anytime, and the best part is you're going to get lifetime updates to it. So let me explain to you exactly what you're going to receive today.
You can tell you've been doing this because it's so smooth. It's so, you're very, 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 very polished. That's awesome, Armand. Man, this has been so helpful, so insightful. For anyone listening to the call, I think there's just an amazing amount of value here. They're definitely going to want to listen to this interview a few times. Definitely want to take some notes. So as someone who's obviously made millions of dollars over and over and lost millions of dollars over and over and, built businesses to suit your lifestyle and figured out kind of who you are, what's kind of your big mission now? Like, what are you really excited about? What are you focused on?
Yeah, we have, probably several different things that we're excited about. Number one, I think you're always looking. I think no matter what, I think in most people, they're always looking for that, I don't know, I guess you call it that perfect world product.
Right.
That is like your legacy and is going to be the product that you, leave behind. And, for us, we have several different things. Number one, we have, our coaching programs. We're putting more time and effort into it. We're doing streaming seminars, and which brings me to the point that I brought up in the very beginning. One of the things that you said was that, we're not, maybe at the forefront or up front in front of the public as much as we were before. You're not the first person to ever say that either. And the reason is because, years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we used to do our big seminars and just like you were talking about. Yeah, there were huge events. We had, everybody in the industry, come to these events. And, and then I just kind of read the writing on the wall at the time, let's stop it. The industry was changing, and it was really the right timing. There's no doubt. I
actually believe that because live events are so time-consuming and expensive, and a lot of people just break even on those, and they don't really make any product until they,
and that's because they don't know how to do them. That's the problem with it.
Right.
And so what happened was we stopped doing them, and we started doing our own events. It was just me, no other speakers. It was just me, and so we did a bunch of events like in Australia and the UK and around the world in different places and across the U.S. So that made it very easy for us to do. But also, what we started doing about 2 years ago was this a whole different realm. I had this whole vision that events were going to be online and streamed.
Go figure.
And so what we started doing was this whole thing called WebCamp. And WebCamp is this 3-day seminar. It's a live 3-day seminar that I focus on one subject for 3 whole days. And it might be on list building just for 3 days.
Right.
Because typically when I was doing my events around the world, I would try to fit in a little bit of everything throughout those 3 days.
Right.
And it was very, 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 very difficult because I couldn't get deep into any one subject.
Yeah. To get people the details they really need.
Yeah. So what I did was, in the WebCamp, we focused on just one idea. And we've been doing this for 2.5 years. Now, here's the interesting part about this is that each webcamp, and I do one every other month. And this is pretty amazing, that we have between 1,000 and maybe 2,000 people on each webcam.
Wow.
So now think about that. Now, the biggest event that I ever had with my big seminar was like 500 people.
Right, which is huge for a live event.
Yeah, which is huge because we did all kinds of things. We fed people and all this other stuff.
Yep.
But with webcamp, it's just very easy. Now, the cool part about webcamp is that it's free.
Right.
So the cool part is that people can attend for free for 3 days, and I don't hold anything back. They get the full 3 days, the whole works, and everything else. And again, people can just go to webcamp.cc and they can see what we're doing there. But at each to this day, I still speak at live events. In fact, I'm getting ready to do a tour in Australia where I do like 5 cities. So it's really kind of cool. But every event that I've been going to over the last few years, people have been asking me the same question: when are you going to do big seminar again? And the answer is I'm not. and the reason why is because I don't want to try to rehash or relive something again over and over again. But that eventually it started eating away at me and saying, okay, what is it that you could do? What do we want to do? And because I see these events and I see so many mistakes that people are doing. Number one being that they're unorganized. Mm-hmm. Number two, they're just not professional. Number three, they base the whole event maybe around, basically just drinking and at the bar.
Right.
And that's the whole event. You can just hang out there.
Right.
But, I think that there's another level of events that exist out there. And so, after a lot of time and talking about it, we created something new that we're getting ready to do in the near future, and it's called Learn University. And what this is to take what we kind of started with Big Seminar and bring it and update it and modernize it. And what we've done is we've invited, some of the top marketers in the world to speak at this event, to teach people. And the difference between the way I do an event and the other people do an event is that what I do is I take a look at the industry as it sits at this particular moment, as in like today. Uh-huh. And I think, okay, what are the things that people need to know about? Uh-huh. What are the things that people have to know about in their business today?
Right.
And so then what I'll do is, out of the people that I know, which, I'm just fortunate enough to know everybody. And
you do know everybody.
So I pick up the phone and I dial up these people and I say, hey, dude, I'm doing an event and I need you to speak on this particular topic. And, if they can make it, then they can make it. But we have the bigger names at our events. So we can do it. And for example, the one that we're getting ready to do has, Russell Branson, Mike Filsame, Matt Basic, Chris Farrell, Ty Cohen. I mean, there's just a bunch of people that are, speaking at the event. There's, several that I'm missing as well too. Right. But the point being is that at these events, at this particular type of event, is that we have the bigger speakers that we could possibly get, the best names that we could possibly get, people that are going to actually teach something I know that's worthwhile. And then also the other aspect of it is we have a structured way for people to network. And so at our events, typically what I'll do is I have a contest for my coaching students where I give away $25,000.
Wow.
So it's really kind of cool because the audience actually votes to see who wins that $25,000 based upon how much that person improved their business over the course of the last 6 months or so.
Wow.
And then the other thing that we have is as on Saturday night, we have this big 80s themed party that we're having at this one.
That's retro. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's just kind of cool. I just happened to be going over to London to speak at an event, and on the plane I watched the Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler.
And that was your inspiration.
That was my inspiration. I was like, well, at first it was going to be a toga party, but I thought, that just leaves too much room for interpretation for many people.
Right.
So I figured it's safer to do an 80s themed party.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so, Learn University is just one of those things that, we're doing. It's kind of a whole new, for us, it's easy, it's simple,
yep.
But at the same time, it's kind of bringing back a different level, a different class of seminars.
Well, and I think you're able to provide more value because you cut out a lot of the overhead cost. Mm-hmm. So you can really focus on delivering a ton of value for people and, again, putting it in a format that they're comfortable with. Because some people, right, they can't get away from home or...
Well, with the webcamp, with webcamp, we're doing it online, but Learn University, we're doing it live.
Oh, my apologies. Where's it going to be?
It's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, actually.
Got it. I love Phoenix. I always have such a great time in that city. Are you going to be doing it at the main conference center there, or?
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's at one of the Marriotts, I believe.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. No, I love Phoenix, though. It's such a beautiful town.
Yeah, because what will happen by doing that, right? By doing a live event, I mean, I think streaming events are great, and like I said, we've been doing them a lot, of course. Mm-hmm. But there's, when I look back at the people that I know, if you look at my close friends, that I mean, forget about online, just offline as well too. Mm-hmm. The people that I hang around the most, my closest friends today, are people that I met live at an event. These are people that have just, we met each other at an event. We might have known each other before, online maybe, or we just met there at an event and got to know each other and just had a lot in common.
A face to the name.
Yeah. And, you can tell a lot about a person when you're hanging out with them. There's some people that, prior to meeting them in person, I didn't like.
Right.
And then when I met them, I'm like, oh, I just totally misread this person.
Right, because you're trying to get to know someone via text and images versus their actual authentic self. I think that's a key. I think that's a really powerful and key point, because that's where the handshakes deals are made. That's where you find a lot of your JV partners. And that's where you find a lot of the like-minded people you can't find in the city that you're in.
I went to this event. I went to a JV Zoo event last year, and I went there and I met this guy, and I only know his last name really. His first name is Ankur, right? He's from India, and he just did a launch like the week before, and he sold like 15,000 items of the product that he had.
Okay.
And I was just extremely impressed, right, with what he did. But then, throughout the weekend, we just happened to hang out with the same people, and I got to know him, much more. Mm-hmm. And, he's just someone, and, and honestly, I haven't talked to him since. But he just left this impression. He just as a really nice guy that, has done a lot of hard work and effort into his business.
Right.
And I just, I was just so impressed with him. But again, it was one of those people I met at an actual event.
Right, when you get to meet them face to face. I think that's so important, because if, a lot of our listeners know I'm a huge advocate for Think and Grow Rich, because a lot of people, they want it law of attraction and that, you need to visualize and you need to think about it in auto-suggestion, but there's 13 principles, not just one. And one of those key ones is a mastermind group, and being surrounded by like-minded people who want to do and accomplish the same thing that you want to do. And what's really funny is that to leave your city and to go somewhere, it shows a significant commitment to who you want to be and what the life you want to walk into, what you want to create for yourself and your family and your loved ones. And so to go and meet fellow travelers, people who are that committed, it really is. It's almost like I don't want to say, how do you, skimming, that's it, skimming the cream of the crop of the people that are really dedicated and committed to the goal. And so I think that on its own, again, is another huge benefit for being at a live event in person and making those connections with people, like real connections, real friendships.
Well, if you think about this, I mean, right now, I mean, you're out of the country at the moment, but, typically we're sitting here and you're working, and you may be working on, some of the biggest projects ever, right? But you're by yourself.
Yep.
And I mean, my wife, knows what I do, and she's involved in my business and things of that nature, but only to a certain degree. She doesn't know. She's involved in my business, but she doesn't know the business. You know what I mean? And she doesn't know the things that I know about marketing. So I can throw ideas at her, and she might, can give her opinion, but it's not going to be the same as me sitting down with a friend of mine and saying, hey, here's an idea that I have. What do you think about this?
Right.
Or I may tell them they're wrong anyway, but it doesn't.
But at least then you have someone that can talk shop and that can give candid opinion.
If you listen to people, they might give you an idea. They might have a different perspective on things. They might have done it before already. A lot of here's the difference. I'll tell you the difference. A lot of times when I'm talking to people, and I'll say the difference between me and you is the fact that I have less choices than you do. And here's what I mean by that, is that when you're involved in the world of internet marketing or marketing online or business in general, you have all of these choices laid out in front of you.
Right.
And everything sounds great. But after, for example, in my case, doing this almost 20 years, I only have a couple choices. And the reason I have only a couple choices is because I've already ruled out all those other options. I've already figured out that those things don't work. And now I'm left with this smaller set of things that actually do work, so I can come to a decision quicker and faster. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
So what happens is that, when you're able to bounce an idea off someone else, they have already they have different experiences than you. And by you leveraging their experiences and leveraging what they have done, you're effectively, doubling or tripling or even quadrupling, your knowledge base.
Right. Well, now you're able to tap into the minds of people and create a collective mastermind where you've got your 20 years or 30, 40 years of experience with his 20 years of experience. Right. And now you've got literally thousands of years of experience in one room.
Exactly.
That's huge. So where do people go to find out information about this event?
Yeah, Learn University, you can just simply go to learnuniversity.com.
Perfect.
And you'll see a video there. You'll see all the different great people that we have there, find out all the details about the event. It's going to be an amazing event. I mean, I'm looking forward to it because, events are a lot of fun. Yeah. One of the things that, we pride ourselves in is, not only the event itself, but the branding at the event. When a person walks in through the door at our events, it's an entire different experience than any other event that you'll ever experience. Because from the marketing standpoints, if you're careful and you watch exactly the marketing aspects that we have going on at the event, it's an amazing set of circumstances that we've created, but also the branding from our staging to our signs to everything. What you'll see is that it's an entirely different experience than you'll experience at any place else, period.
So learnuniversity.com is where they go. And say someone picks up this recording, like a year from now. What you want them to go to, is it webcamp.cc? Is that the website?
Webcamp.cc. Or, if they go to either one of those, it's webcamp.cc or learnuniversity.com. But either one of those, you'll see whatever event that we're doing next.
That's awesome. Armand, thank you so much for coming on this call today. You gave a ton of value. Everyone that's listening to this, especially if you're getting started or if you're trying to patch together what to do, listen to this interview again. He is dropping gems on this. I'm not even kidding. I've got my hands covered in pen because I didn't have a notepad, so I got to go transfer this to something before I start sweating. But Armand, thank you so much for your time and for sharing it, and just for being willing to put yourself out there, to be the pioneer, to get those arrows. That way we can follow in your footsteps and just have a better chance at being successful. So in a lot of ways, it's just very noble of you to, you probably weren't thinking about us when you were doing it, but still I don't know if you'll ever realize or feel the significance and the impact you've had on other people. Like I said, I'm not even just saying this to fluff you up. So many people say so many good things about you. That's why I wanted to get you on this call, because the people, like you say, I've met a lot of these people at conferences and events exactly like yours. The relationships have been very meaningful to me. And to hear them speak about that, I was like, I got to talk to this guy. And now I really know why, because I know what we've gone over on this call already will help a ton of our listeners. And anyone that went through that and felt that was probably kind of basic, then they need to go to your event or at least find out more from you, because I know, at least from speaking from my own experiences, you definitely have the goods. So thank you for your time. I wish you and your loved ones all the best. And just thank you.
Thank you, Daryl.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.